Good morning and welcome to the U.S. Department of Energy Clean Energy Application Center's webinar on HB 1831 and HB 4409 relating to energy security in Texas. This presentation will be conducted by myself, Ross Tomlin, and my colleague, Krishnan Umamaheshwar. First, a few words about us. As I mentioned, we are a nonprofit center funded by the U.S. Department of Energy, and we work to promote clean energy technologies in the Gulf Coast region. Clean energy technologies include combined heat and power, waste heat recovery, and district energy. And by Gulf Coast region, I mean Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And the services we provided are threefold, as you can see here: education and outreach, project-specific support, and policy development initiatives. Recently, the Department of Energy came out with a report suggesting that CHP should eventually comprise 20% of the entire national electric capacity. This demonstrates that the technology is proven, available, and cost-effective. The DOE believes that combined heat and power, or CHP, should play an important role in the national energy supply due to its economic and environmental benefits. In Texas, we already have over 17,000 megawatts of CHP installations, which is equivalent to 14 South Texas nuclear power plants. With respect to the topic of this webinar, we can help facilitate compliance with the requirements of HB 1831 and HB 4409 in the following ways: by providing technical information and assistance, free or low-cost CHP feasibility studies, project support services, and connections to service providers. In the next hour, we'll cover the following agenda. First, we will discuss what is in these two bills and define what critical infrastructure is according to these two bills. Next, we will cover why this legislation was enacted in the first place. Third, we'll provide a brief overview of the benefits and the technical aspects of a CHP installation. Next, we'll explain what a feasibility study entails. We'll then delve into some frequently asked questions, and lastly, try to address some of your questions. So very briefly, both of these two bills that were passed by the Texas legislature in the 2009 session, so roughly a year ago, both of these bills create new requirements that address disaster preparedness and emergency management. Among other things, the bills outline evacuation procedures, they assign emergency management responsibilities, and try to integrate volunteer groups, and so on and so forth. The portions of these bills that we're addressing today concern this last bullet, which have to do with energy security provisions. Specifically, they require that prior to construction or extensive renovations of a critical government facility, the entity in control of the facility must obtain a feasibility study to consider the technical opportunities and economic value of implementing CHP. So through the course of this webinar, we will unpack that statement, that provision, and explain, for instance, what is defined as a critical government facility, what a feasibility study entails, and an overview of what CHP is. With respect to the energy security provisions of this bill, beginning September 1st of 2009, which is to say these bills are already in effect, all government entities must comply with the law by following these steps. First of all, identify which government-owned buildings and facilities are indeed critical in an emergency situation. And second of all, as I mentioned in the slide before, that prior to construction or major renovation of such a facility, the operators or owners of the facility must obtain a CHP feasibility study. So let's define what a critical government facility is according to these two laws. First of all, it must be owned by the state or a political subdivision of the state. Next, it is expected to continue serving critical public health or safety functions throughout a natural disaster or other emergency situation, even when a widespread power outage may exist for days or even weeks. Thirdly, the facility must be continuously occupied. Fourthly, it must maintain operations for at least 6,000 hours each year. And lastly, it must have a peak electricity demand exceeding 500 kilowatts. So if you meet these criteria, you are then required to obtain a CHP feasibility study. If your facility does not meet each and every one of these criterion, that doesn't mean that CHP is not feasible or that you shouldn't consider obtaining a feasibility study. It may turn out, in fact, that CHP is both economically and environmentally advantageous in addition to providing energy security to your facility. And per the letter of the law, these are some examples of critical government infrastructures that both HB 1831 and 4409 delineate. And as you can read here, this includes command and control centers, shelters, prisons or jails, police or fire stations, communications or data centers, water or wastewater facilities, hazardous waste storage facilities, biological research facilities, hospitals, and food preparation and storage facilities. So why were these bills passed? Well, quite simply, to enhance energy security and reliability in a state that has seen its fair share of natural disasters in recent years. And just to refresh your memory, here we have a list of some of the most catastrophic of those natural disasters that have all had their fair share of negative impacts on the infrastructure, among other things, primarily along the coast of Texas. But as this slide also shows, inland portions of Texas are not immune to their fair share of power outages thanks to ice storms, rolling blackouts, and tornadoes. So there are roughly 5 observations we can draw from these natural disasters that pertain to energy security. Observation number 1 is that natural disasters can knock out the electric grid for weeks and even months. So gone are the days when we could assume that once the power was out, that within just a few hours, the lights would come back on. As we witnessed, or as parts of the states witnessed during Hurricane Rita, power outages can last several weeks. And then we list a few statistics of the extent to which the transmission and distribution infrastructure was damaged and the extent to which extra workforce was required by transmission and distribution companies to repair the damage. And then, not unlike Hurricane Rita, from Hurricane Ike, we learned that most of the damage to the grid was not caused directly by